Welcome to music. It's so good to see you all today. Today, we are going to be continuing talking about the Baroque period in music. Let's go ahead and listen to the saraband while we click around the screen and figure out what we're going to be doing today. Our overview says that the purpose of this lesson is to introduce students to the musical ornamentation used in Baroque music. The objectives for today are to recall that trills, turns, and appoggiaturas were ornaments used to make music fancy in the Baroque period. Our key word for today is ornaments. Just like you decorate your tree with ornaments, or you decorate your table with ornaments, you can decorate music with ornaments. In our last lesson, we learned to recognize Baroque as a period when music was very fancy. We also were introduced to two famous Baroque composers. Next, we're going to have a quick video review about the Baroque period.
Now, in the Baroque period, they would fancy everything up a bit. They even fancied up music, and they did it by adding trills. What is a trill? I hear you cry. A trill is a fast wobble shared with the note above it. I'll show you. Ah, very fancy, a trill. Another thing they used to add to their music was the turn. The turn is a bit like a wave of the ocean. It goes along, up, below, and back to the same note. Listen to this. Ah, that was a turn. Again, very fancy. And then they added appoggiaturas. Appoggiatura. Now, an appoggiatura is a note, a little note, before the main note that you want to sing. And that makes it fancy again. Listen to this. So a trill, a turn, and an appoggiatura. Now we're going to add those three fancy Baroque bits to a famous tune, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Off we go. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Very fancy.
As you can see, by adding these ornaments, we create a really fancy type of music. On this page, we are going to be listening to fancy sounds, just like those ornaments we just listened to. Please listen for anything that you think that makes the music fancy. All of these songs are from the classical Baroque period. After we listen to each song, we're going to have a couple of moments for discussion. You can share what you heard that sounded really fancy. One other note here is that sarabands and bourrées were popular in Baroque music as they were used for dances. So they were able to dance in their fancy ball gowns along to this beautiful Baroque music. Let's listen to the first Saraband by Handel. Remember to listen out for anything that you hear that is fancy. Well, that was absolutely beautiful. Let's pause now for a moment so I can hear your ideas about what made the saraband sound so fancy. For our next song, we are going to be listening to a song that was created by Quaver called Truly Trill. We're listening again for items that make this song sound fancy. Here we go. Alrighty, so that was Truly Trill. Lots of different types of ornaments in this one. What did you hear? Finally, we have a third Baroque period song This one is also composed by Handel. This one is called the Bore from Water Music. Let's go ahead and give it a listen, listening for those items that make it sound fancy. All right, so we got to listen to the Bore as well as the Saraband, as well as the Truly Trill song from Quaver. Let's have one last conversation about what was so fancy about all three of these songs. Let's pause the screen so we can converse. Okay, friends, next we're going to talk to Handel. Let's see what Handel has to say about himself.
I would secretly practice playing when I was young. I lived during the Baroque period. I wrote a piece called Messiah, which uses text from the Bible. 12,000 people saw the first performance of my music for royal fireworks.
Thank you, Handel, for sharing a little bit about yourself. Now let's listen to this song that was created in your honor. Let's learn a little bit more about you.
George Frederick Handel's my name. Composing music is my game. Born in 1685 in Germany. Dad said a lawyer is what you will be. But the sound of music set me alight. I'd practice in the attic through the night. Cause I'm George Frederick Handel. At your service, what can I write for you? I moved to England and wrote for the king. Some fireworks and water music for him. From stories in the Bible, I wrote the Messiah. Then I played it to my mother, it made us both cry. Because the sound of music set me alight. I practice in the attic through the night. Cause I'm George Frederick Handel. At your service, what can I write at your service? What can I write at your service? What can I write for you?
What a wonderful song, nice and cheery. Let's learn a little bit about Handel's where he lived. Let's see, did he live up here in this northern area? No. Did he live in the southern area? No. Did he live over in this big area of land? No. Did he live in this little patchy piece of land? Yes, this is Europe, and that is where Handel lived. Let's learn a little bit about his life now. Handel was born on February 23rd, 1685 in Halle, Germany. Even at an early age, Handel's father wanted him to be a lawyer, but Handel was more interested in music. After his father died in 1697, Handel enrolled in law at the University of Halle. A month later, he became the organist at a local church. In 1703, Handel moved to Hamburg, Germany, one of the great opera centers of Europe. Have you ever moved? Was it hard to do? Let's pause for a moment and talk about what it feels like to move away. Again, Handel moved to Hanover, Germany in 1710, where he was appointed Kapellmeister, choir master, by Prince George of Hanover, the future king of Great Britain. George becomes the king, and Handel moves to England. King George I of England loved boating on London's Thames River. Handel wrote his water music to accompany the king on his trips. Let's listen to a piece of the water music. What a beautiful song. Handel co-founded the Royal Academy of Music Opera Company. The company was founded to make sure there was a constant supply of Italian operas in London. Have you ever started a group or a club with your friends? Let's pause and talk about your experiences. Handel became a British citizen in 1727. He also wrote a piece called Zadok the Priest for King George II's coronation. That piece has been played at every British coronation since. On April 13th in 1742, Handel premiered Messiah, a piece that became his most famous work. It reportedly only took 24 days to compose. The Messiah is commonly performed at Christmas time. Handel wrote music for the royal fireworks to celebrate the end of the war and the signing of a treaty. It premiered on April 27, 1749. Why do you think fireworks are always used for big celebrations? Let's pause for a moment and talk about your ideas. Why would fireworks be used for big celebrations? Finally, George Friedrich Handel died on April 14, 1759. He is buried in Westminster Abbey in London. Now that we've learned a little bit more about Handel's life, Let's listen to some of his best pieces of music. The first piece we'll listen to is a minuet. Let's listen. What a beautiful piece. Did you hear any of the Baroque fanciness coming from the trills? Let's listen to the music for the royal fireworks now. All right, that was exciting. His third piece is a bourrée from Water Music Number 3, which we heard a little piece of already, so we will be only listening to a short section. All righty, we have one left over. This is a piece of the Messiah, the Hallelujah Chorus. Here we go. All righty. This was really exciting to learn a little bit more about Handel. Let's watch a box brain video about Handel.
Box brain!
In this story, Kramer will be playing the role of Handel.
Follow your dream. Have you ever had a dream or passion to do something that seemed just out of your reach? Well, that's exactly what happened to George Frederick Handel. This is a story about George Frederick Handel, who lived from 1685 to 1759. When George was a boy, he really wanted to learn to play the harpsichord, and he went to see his dad. He knocked on the door. He went in and he said, "Daddy, Daddy, I really want to play the harpsichord." But his dad said to him, "I'm not having a boy of mine playing the harpsichord. No, I want you to be a lawyer, son." George was so upset. He went up to his attic room and he cried himself to sleep night after night after night. But fortunately for George, his mum was listening outside the door. And she said to herself, "I'm going to buy poor Georgie a harpsichord." I am. She went down to the market with all her money. She bought a harpsichord. She crept upstairs past her snoring husband. She got to Georgie's attic room. She knocked on the door. Georgie answered the door and she said, "Georgie, I've got you a harpsichord." "I have." Georgie was so excited. He said, "Oh, Mummy, you're the best mummy in the whole world." And he started practicing the harpsichord. He practiced every day, every night while his dad was asleep. He practiced and practiced the harpsichord until he became one of the greatest composers to ever live. George Frederick Handel. He's the one that composed. So now you know how he started. Georgie's mum really helped him to fulfill his dream. So, if you've got a dream or a passion to do something, sometimes it's really good to share it with people, and you never know, they might help you fulfill it. Remember to always follow your dreams.
Well, we learned a lot about the Baroque period, its fancy ornaments, and about Handel and his life today. We learned to recall that trills, turns, and appoggiaturas were ornaments used to make music fancy in the Baroque period. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. Bye.